Small Town Bringdown. I'm Brandon Grider.
I'm Elliot Drew.
Thanks for tuning into the number one podcast amongst people who don't turn off movies no matter how much they suck. I don't do that. I'm a true believer in the fact that I'm gonna find something that I enjoy about a movie, but I can't. There has been numerous movies where I've attempted to watch them, especially now that I watch them on Netflix or on demand or whatever, and I can just be like, oh, 30-second skip, 30-second skip, 30-second skip. But generally, I'm like, there's got to be one redeeming factor of this movie that I'm going to be like, well, it wasn't as bad as I heard nothing but shit about it, and now it's like, I enjoyed this part of it or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? But I find if I'm not enjoying a movie, I won't turn it off. I'll just fall asleep.
There is that.
Especially at home, I'll just...
Yeah.
I've never walked out of a movie theater, like gone to a movie and then walked out of it. There's been movies where afterwards I'm like, I should have just walked out, but I've never done that.
No.
But yeah, now I find I just fall asleep on my couch.
Yeah.
If it's not interesting enough to keep me engaged.
See, I'm a completist by nature.
Yeah.
I have to complete things. I have to tick the box, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yes, that's done.
Yeah.
So if I start something, I have to finish it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gnaws at me.
You get all neurotic. I gotta finish it.
I do. I'm one of the if I'm gonna watch a movie, I can't be like, oh, we're not done. I gotta turn that off and come back to it.
Yeah.
I can't do any it's in the back of my head. Oh, you gotta finish watching that. You gotta do that. You gotta finish that.
I'm sort of like, I'll find like if I'm like, oh, like you loaned me your DVD of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And I like Wonder Woman as a character, but I just haven't found the time to actually watch it yet. Because like I know that some of the material in it's a little bit heavy and blah blah blah, right? So I'm like, when I go to watch a movie, if I'm not in the right frame of mind for that type of movie, I can't start it.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm not going to want to finish it, and there's no movie or no television show or anything out there where I'm just like, I'll power through until I start enjoying it, because usually I'm just like, I don't want to be doing this, and then I get all and I focused on that, and I'm like, and I get frustrated, and then I'm watching a movie and I'm not enjoying it like I should, and it's just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, see, I don't even have, like, there's times when I'll be at home and something will come on TV.
Yeah.
I was going to watch something else, but that came on.
Yeah.
And now I have to finish watching it. And that's annoying. Because I'm like, I didn't even want to start this, but it's on.
I didn't want to watch Dumb and Dumber today.
Yeah.
Motherfucker. And it's not even a good one. It's the other one.
It's the other. It's the sequel.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I find that's... I have a lot of trouble with that type of a thing.
Yeah.
So I'm actually very picky with the stuff that I start watching, because especially in the modern age of binge watching, where you can watch a whole season of a show, I have to choose because if I start it,
yeah,
I will finish it.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah, I'm kind of I'm not the same. What I'll do is I just started watching the other day, actually, the new Netflix Lost in Space. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big fan of Molly Parker because she's Canadian, as are we. And this is actually filmed in our neck of the woods, so to speak, up in the Whistler, Squamish area. So I was like, I'm going to check it out, and I actually enjoy it.
It's very good.
I think it's very well done, and I like the way they kind of started where they were already fucked.
Yeah. And
we didn't have to deal with, and then we're finding out the backstory and the history of the family and Dr. Smith and so on and so forth. So I kind of found that interesting that right off the bat, they were already about, like, they're playing the cards in the opening thing, and they're in the midst of a crash.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was awesome.
Yeah.
But I found with binge watching is that I'll start watching something, and I'll watch it, and I'll watch it, and I'll watch it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I got to go to bed.
Yeah.
Because I've been up watching this for 4 hours longer than I should have been. But, you just sort of power through. And
well, see, that's the thing is like once I start watching a show, I won't watch anything else.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that I have to watch it all right in a row and right now, but I can't start or watch something else until that thing is done.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't focus on, like, you find it difficult to focus on, like, say you can't watch, say, like, The Newsroom and The West Wing and Blue Bloods all at the same time. If you're binge watching it, like, you can do that throughout, like, regular television or whatever.
Yeah, like once a week,
serial releases and so on.
But even that, like, I have my time for TV.
Yeah.
Right, and it sometimes it's longer than other time, but we start, the way we watch TV is we have our shows we watch every week.
Yeah.
So those are the first things we have to watch.
Yeah.
So we wait a week. We know that there's new shows in the queue.
Yeah.
And then on a certain night, we watch those like 3-4 shows.
Okay.
Right? That we watch. Now there's shows that just I watch. So Saturday mornings when I get up, because usually I'll get up a little earlier and Teresa's sleeping in.
Yeah.
So then I'll watch my couple of shows that I watch just me.
Like He-Man and Bugs Bunny and shit?
No, mostly the Arrowverse shows.
Oh, like
Arrow and Flash and
gotcha, and Supergirl and stuff.
Supergirl, I've decided that's a binge-only show.
Okay.
I've tried to keep up with it over the thing, but it never holds my attention enough to want to watch it. So I find if I watch that as a binge watch, it's better.
Thank you.
So we'll do that.
Yeah.
So I watch my shows, and then Teresa has her shows that when I'm away, that like she watches all these stupid, like The Voice and
like The Bachelor and shit.
No, she doesn't watch The Bachelor. Thank God. She doesn't do Big Brother or any of the really.
So like American Idol and The Voice and
and
kind of like
America's Got Talent shows.
Based shows.
She really likes those. She also has this big thing about reality cop shows.
Oh, really? Like What You Gonna Do?
Yeah, like she goes back. We've watched Cops multiple times.
Like all the way back into the day, Cops?
Yeah, like back in the day, it's on, like you can find it, it's streaming.
Yeah.
And she will go back and like she'll just watch Cops.
That's fucked up.
She loves watching.
Does she want to be a cop or something at one point?
No, you know what she likes about it? She's like, I see these people on this show, and it makes me feel better about my own life.
Well, I guess that's it, all right.
She's like, at least I'm not that guy who's wandering around at 3 a.m. In a tutu, completely blitzed out of his mind or
it's
whatever.
It's the same reason why I used to watch Hoarders.
Yeah,
because I was like, well, my house may be messy, but I got 4 kids. They got 19 cats. Like, it's okay.
And so she loves those, and I guess there's this new one where they like follow around like live
911 Live.
Yeah,
I've watched
live
that show.
PD or
live
something.
PD, yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah,
so
I've watched that show.
She watches
that's
that like
interesting
obsessively.
as fuck, actually.
And I've watched some of it, but I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah,
like I great, well done, Cops, for doing a bang up job. Weird people, great. But most of the time, it's pretty.
I watched the live PD strictly based out of a fascination of the differences between American policing and Canadian policing.
Yeah.
Because, like, a perfect example is, like, we just had, unfortunately, a man in Toronto took his van and went up and drove through crowds of people and killed a bunch of people and injured twice as many last week. It was a horrible incident, but the first officer on the scene did not shoot that driver.
Yeah.
And if that had been American,
well, and
that guy would have been dead.
Despite the guy
holding a gun,
working.
Well, they think it was a gun.
Yeah, you can't really tell from the videos.
The video I saw, you couldn't tell.
He actually goes back and like draws the gun, trying to make the cop fire at him, and
he didn't do it. And at one point, you actually see, like, he's talking to the guy.
And he's like, just shoot me.
Yeah, and the guy's like, shoot me, I'm right here, shoot me. And he's holding out his arm, so he's like the biggest possible target ever. And the cop's just like, at one point, you see the cop put away his gun into his holster. And I don't know if the guy had, like, thrown his if it was a gun, if he had thrown that or whatever it was
I don't know.
at that point. But yeah, like you see the cop put away his gun into his holster and then go and arrest the guy.
Yeah.
It was just, and so that's where I watch those cop shows and cops too. Not that Canadian police don't use their weapons, but it's just a different, I think it's a different mentality right off the bat.
Yeah.
And so that's where I watch those shows because I find it very fascinating.
See, I can't because most of the time I'm like, I see these poor cops having to deal with these ridiculous people. And most of the time, it's like these ridiculous people. Like, you're having an issue because you guys just can't, either it's some kind of weird drug thing.
Yeah.
It's an alcohol-fueled related thing. And I feel horrible for the cops that they have to even deal with this kind of crap because this is not, for the most part, this is not crime.
Yeah.
This is people just not knowing how to be like civil and get along in society kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
They're pulling guys over and they're completely hammered or they're completely stoned and then, they try and run away or they try and, escape or, and then they pull them over and they're like, what you going to, why are you running?
Yeah.
I haven't done anything. Then why are you running?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
it's like I remember a friend of ours is German, and I remember him years ago talking about how in Germany, and whether or not he didn't grow up in Germany, so I don't know if this is true or not, but I remember him telling me that at some point in Germany, and now this was, I think it was after the war. Like, I'm sure during the war, this shit went down all the time, but apparently in Germany, if you run, it's a presumption of guilt.
Yeah.
Because why, like you just said, why would you be running if you're not guilty?
Yeah.
So you must have done something. Otherwise, why would, like, when I phone the police for people who are standing out in my driveway at the middle of the night, or I think they're trying to break into my truck or whatever, and I phone the police and the police show up, I don't run from the police because I did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
So why would I be afraid to talk to a police officer?
Yeah.
I've come out of the bar at 2:00 in the morning with friends of ours, and we're all drunk out of our fucking skulls, but we're not getting into a car. We're waiting for a taxi or we're walking home. We're not doing anything illegal. So why would we? And there's been cops there. And, hey, what are you guys doing? Or blah, blah, blah. Oh, we're just walking home. We just live over there, which usually is the truth. Or just, we're going to 7-Eleven to get some smokes and we're calling a cab. Okay, guys, have a good night. Because there's nothing to hide.
Yeah.
So why would I need to worry about it?
Yeah. And that's the big thing is, so, I end up feeling A, bad for the cops, and then like B, I feel bad for humanity because I'm like, these people are kept busy, not fighting crime. They're like, and here's the thing, they're not truly fighting crime. It's not like they're busting drug cartels or
they're dealing with it.
They're just dealing with day-to-day stupidity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, thankfully, we have people who are willing to deal with people's day-to-day stupidity to keep us all in the box that we live in that's called civility.
Yeah.
Because that's mostly what this is. This is like, hey, dude, you know what you can't do? You can't hit people. You can't wander around waving a weapon that makes everybody else nervous. You can't get behind the wheel of a car and drive when, obviously at ridiculous speeds or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
We see a lot of drug-related offenses on these shows too, which pisses me off because I'm like, there was one guy, they stopped him. They're like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm sitting in my car smoking a joint. And they're like, well, and he's like, I've got my freaking card. I'm not driving. I'm literally like, this guy had driven into the state to see his kid.
Okay.
He had a thing saying medical card from wherever it was, from a different state.
Yeah.
Though, and he's like, look, I parked my car for the night. This is where I'm hanging out because I can't go see my kid till tomorrow, and I just got into town, so I'm hanging out here.
Yeah.
Because it's early in the, it was early in the morning. He's like, I drove all night to be here because it's his birthday tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so I guess he went into this 24-hour Walmart-y type store or something like that, bought some stuff for his kid.
Yeah.
And then proceeded to just sit in his truck.
And he was just going to hang out in his truck, probably sleep.
Yeah. Sleep in his truck kind of thing, wait till the morning, go visit his kid. But he had some kind of problem. So before he was going to fall asleep, he decided to smoke his joint, get his medicine, so to speak, go to sleep.
Yeah.
Well, cops show up and they're like, dude, we see that you have a medical marijuana card, but we don't have medical marijuana in this state, so now you're under arrest.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Yeah.
And you're not going to go to jail or anything, but you're going to get fined.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that, and you know, it's not enough marijuana to, like, you know.
You're not going to court and all that, all that kind of shit.
Well, you're still going to go to court, but you're going to get a fine and whatever else. And,
yeah.
You know, you might have to spend like a few days in jail kind of thing because it's still illegal.
Yeah.
It's not legalized, so it's not just a fine. You still have to go to court and blah, blah, blah.
So he ended up missing his son's birthday.
Well, and in the end, they took him down, they booked him, the whole thing, and they released him right away.
Yeah.
They released him on a, thing to appear or whatever, and they explain what that is
his
on
own
the show.
recognizance.
Yeah.
They
They're
call
like,
it.
Here's your court date. You better be here.
Do you promise to show up? Yes, I do. Then okay, bye.
Yeah. Then you get to go out of jail.
Yeah.
But don't smoke.
If you don't show up, we're coming to get you. We're Dog the Bounty Hunter. It's coming to get you.
Well, and like you'll have a failure to appear warrant in this state.
Yeah.
So if you come back to the state
to see your son,
then you have an outstanding warrant.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is the third time this has happened to me. And then I'm like, well, hey, dude, like I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Because like that's like me going to a different city and being like, oh, okay, well, what do you mean I can't, cross the road on a green light or whatever?
Yeah.
Stupid rule they have. They say that I can't do that anymore. But after the first time,
yeah,
and maybe on the second time, maybe you're like, okay, well, now I got to be a little circumspect.
Yeah.
After the first time, I'll get away with it. But then the second time this happens to you, leave your weed at home, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Because not only, like, theoretically, I'm pretty sure it works in the States this way, that if you were to take, like, medical marijuana aside, if you take marijuana from one state to another, I think that's actually an offense on top of it.
Like trafficking or something.
Like carrying it across state lines, they call it, or some traffic.
I don't know.
I don't know exactly, but I seem to recall. I mean, maybe some of our American listeners could fill us in on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
So if you're a member of the American Law Society, please fill us in. Because we're curious. We're going on a road trip soon, so we need to know all our legal ins and outs.
Where can we take our weed? Yeah. And so that's a thing, though, right? So I watch those kind of, and then I'm like, so like I feel bad for the guy because obviously he's not really doing anything wrong per se, and if he was at home, it would be perfectly fine.
Yeah,
but he's not, so now he's fucked.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, you see people, like people that get DUIs, right? You never, very rarely do you ever hear of a person who gets one DUI and then never gets at another one again.
Yeah.
Usually, like I'm not saying any names, but I know people who have had like 4, 5, 6 DUIs. I know people who have had their licenses suspended for life because they've had so many DUIs. And like at some point, you have to realize that this is not the 60s anymore. You can't drive drunk anymore. That's not a thing. You're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And eventually, it's not the cops are out to get you. It's not the society's after you. It's not that you're being treated unfairly. It's the fact that you're making the decision to drink too much and get behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah.
That is no longer an acceptable practice.
Yeah.
And that's on you. After the first one, maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you really did only have 3 beer. And maybe the cop was being a dick that day.
Yeah.
Second, third, fourth, all of those ones, that's all on you, buddy.
Yeah.
It's the same as when we used to go to school. If you got suspended from school for one time, maybe the teacher and the principal did have it out for you. But if you kept getting suspended from school, eventually that falls onto you.
Well, and it's much like anything else. Like if one person doesn't like me, well, that's okay. It happens. But if, every time I go out, people are like, you're a jerk, maybe they're not the problem.
Yeah,
maybe it might be me.
Yeah, it's I knew somebody and they were like, oh, I've dealt with this person and that person's an idiot. Oh, and this person's an idiot and this person's an idiot and that person's an idiot. Everybody that they ever interacted with was an idiot. But then I looked at them and I said, out of all of those interactions with all of these numerous, and it was dozens and dozens of people that they had listed off, what is the one constant in that situation, in all of those situations?
Yeah.
And the constant is you. So maybe you need to look at it in that sense, that maybe they're not the idiots and maybe you're the problem, like you just said.
Yeah. Maybe you're the problem.
Yeah.
And I feel like,
and it's the same as your weed guy.
yeah,
You know it's happened twice already. If you going into somewhere that you're not allowed to smoke weed, you've already been reprimanded for this twice in that area. Maybe don't smoke weed.
just don't take it, man.
Just don't even bother.
Like, get some Ativan or something.
If you can't make it through one 24-hour visit to another state to your son without smoking a joint, I think you have bigger issues than whether or not you're going to get busted for it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm all for people smoking weed. I'm all for people doing whatever the fuck they want, as long as they can handle their high. But eventually, if you keep getting caught and you don't learn from that mistake.
So A, either stop doing it, or B, learn how to hide it better.
Yeah, when we used to go out drinking, and we did a lot of drinking when we were younger.
Yes.
Did you ever get arrested?
I never once had an interaction with a police officer.
Yeah. I had one interaction with a police officer, and it was only because I was so drunk. We didn't get pulled over. What had happened is we were driving away from a party, and they were stopping, and we had a sober driver. But the problem is that the vehicle we were in had broken headlights or something. There was something wrong mechanically with the vehicle, and they didn't want to let us take the vehicle away. They were like, you guys can come and get it. I think it was a light issue because they said, come back and get it tomorrow. Take the keys with you. We're not going to tow it. Just you're not allowed to drive it away from here tonight.
Yeah.
So, but the problem was there was 6 of us in the vehicle, and they were like, okay, you guys can just walk from here. Well, while they were dealing with all of that and getting all that situation sorted, they took us all out of the vehicle. I went and sat on the side of the road and basically passed out.
Yeah.
And I fell asleep. So when it was come time to go and everything was all situated, they were like, Brandon, we got to go. And I was like, fuck you, I'm sleeping. I'm just going to stay here. And the cop was like, if you don't fucking get him up and get him out of here, he's coming with us to the drunk tank. And eventually they got me up and got me out, and I ended up walking, and everything was fine after that. But that was really the only interaction with police that I ever had in all of my drinking adventures.
I had numerous times when we had parties that cops would show up about noise complaints.
Yes.
But that wasn't a matter of they would show up and be like, hey, are you guys having a party? And we'd be like,
no,
yeah.
It's actually a quilting bee.
Yeah, we'd be like, yes. And then be like, are there underage drinkers? And we'd be like, we don't think so.
Yeah, just all of us.
Yeah. And that was the thing, like all of us. But they
There's
were
one
like
20-year-old in the corner hiding his face because he's the bootlegger.
Yeah, and then they were all like, just turn it down, like tone it down, and
Yeah.
like break it up, tone it down. It's over. You guys got to deal. We don't want to come back.
Yeah.
And then 2 hours later, they come back and they were like, look, what
I
did
thought
we
you
tell
said
you?
you didn't want to come back, officer.
Yeah. What did we tell you? And we're like, okay. And then usually that would be when we would at that point we would shut it down.
Yeah, I mean we keep partying, but usually the music would at least get shut down.
But that was usually because the first time would be midnight.
Yeah.
And then they'd show back up again 1:30.
Yeah.
And then we were like, well, it's mostly time to go home anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, fuckers, get out.
Yeah.
And
then the rest of our core group of friends would stay there till 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Oh, it's breakfast time. Let's go get some breakfast.
So again, small town cops versus big town cops.
Yeah.
There were lots of police that we knew by their first names.
Oh, there was someone we used to party with.
Yeah, there was quite a few that we actually used to party with on their days off. As we got older, we were fun people to hang out with.
Yeah, we are.
And,
we were.
Well,
now,
we used
not
to
so
be.
much.
Now we're boring.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were a lot of fun.
Our party skills, well, I mean, we can still party, but our party frequency has gone downhill quite substantially.
Way substantially. And so we used to, that was about it. But again, you're always respectful. You don't harass people. I don't know about you, but as a rule, I always like don't piss off people that are armed. I've always kind of seen that just makes sense as like a life survival skill.
It was never like I've never worried about pissing off people that are armed, but it was for me. It was just like I don't want to go to jail. I don't ever want to have that on my conscience or on my memories or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I just didn't. It's the same reason why I don't speed. I don't run stop signs. I don't, I just don't do that kind of stuff. Not that I can't. I mean, I'm probably one of the best drivers that I know, so I could very easily speed and go in and out of traffic and all of that kind of stuff. I just choose not to because I don't want to get and not only that, I'm cheap as fuck. So I don't want to pay fines for anything. I've had two tickets in my life, and I'm not fucking getting more of them.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want to pay them.
Yeah. And if you obey the rules, you don't have to.
Exactly.
And like, is obeying the rules really that hard?
Yeah.
Like, because there's rules. Like, I feel like the don't murder people rule. That's pretty
that's pretty easy.
Can't not do that.
Yeah.
Like you don't even try and bend that one.
Yeah.
You just steer clear.
How was your day today? Well, it was pretty hard. It was pretty difficult actually. I was very murdery today.
Yeah. So I feel like you just steer clear of that one. Stealing for the most part. I'm not saying that I steal stuff, but sometimes I eat a grape.
Oh, I don't do that.
I've eaten a grape at the supermarket. I've tried a grape.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but sometimes you're like, I wonder if they're pop a grape. And technically, total theft.
See, I don't do that though.
No,
I won't do that, and I won't I won't. I've seen people at like farmers markets where they've got the little baskets of strawberries, and they'll eat a couple strawberries, and then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll buy that, whatever." I don't do that. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. I have, however, stolen a DVD player from a certain big box store, as we air quote it, in my life. Not on purpose, of course, but we were actually talking about it today because I had taken our daughter Megan. Our daughter. She had been back living with us for the last couple of months. She had had some issues with her previous roommates, and now she's got her own one-bedroom apartment, which has no roommates except for her boyfriend, who I think I don't know for sure, but I think she likes him. I don't know. They have this weird. Anyways, so I was helping her move today, and at the end of the move, she was like, "Can you take me to the big box store?" In air quotes.
Yeah.
In order to, because I got to get a broom and some shit that she didn't have.
Yeah.
Because then when she was here, she would just use our shit, right? So, so she was like, "Well, I need to get this and that and that. So can you?" And I did. And then she gets in and they get into the truck and they load up all their stuff and they get in and they're like, "Oh, there's this cable." And it was like an HDMI cable that they could run from their computer to the television. So, because they're not getting cable, they're just going to run everything through their computer. So they had to buy a new cable, though, to hook it up. And they were like, well, I guess they failed to pay. I don't want to say steal, but they failed to pay for that cable.
Yeah.
Because I guess what had happened is when they put it in the cart, it was underneath a bunch of shit. And as they were unloading, because you know how nowadays they're like, "Oh, don't put the heavy stuff up," because heaven forbid a big box store worker should have to actually do any work physically. So they were like scanning shit, and it was underneath the one thing, and they missed it, and that was that. So the same thing happened with my DVD player. It was like I don't even have the DVD player, and that's how long ago this was. So what had happened is we were there. And it was just after we had one of our kids. So we had like the carry-on car seat, the one where they just stay in it all the time when you're out of the house. So we had that in the bottom of in the shopping cart. And we were buying a DVD player and we put it on the bottom rack, like where the bags of flour normally go.
Yeah.
So we had put it down there, and then the baby car seat was kind of on top of it. And as we were unloading the rest of our stuff, we just didn't see it.
Yeah.
So, and then as we went out, it didn't set off their alarms or anything. And we didn't even realize it. And we totally forgot about it. And it wasn't on purpose at all.
Yeah.
But we put the baby in the thing, and I was like, oh, the fucking DVD player that we didn't pay for. And the wife was like, well, we should go back in. And I was like, shut your face, lady.
we just got a free
We
DVD
just got
player.
a free DVD player.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not proud of that, but actually I kind of am, but it wasn't on purpose. It was
No.
just,
I will say this. There's been times when I have noticed stuff and I'm like, oh, crap, I didn't pay for that. And I've turned around and I've walked into a store and I paid for it. But there have been times, especially at the big box store,
yeah.
where I think the last instance of that was a few years ago, and it was sunglasses.
Yeah.
And again, much the same. Like into the cart. Wife's purse went into the the little
Where the kid sits sometimes.
kid sits, and that was where there was already that was where we had put those in a plan to do something. But then she had gotten tired of carrying her purse and put it in there.
Yeah.
So we get there, we unload everything, and completely forgot that there was stuff
Underneath the purse.
underneath the purse. I pay for everything. I put it back in. We're walking out. She gets there. She's like, oh, okay. We unload. We get in. She grabs her purse out, and she's like,
There's $140 worth of stuff under here.
well, no, it was two items.
pairs of sunglasses.
It was 2 pairs of sunglasses, and we were like, do we go back? And I was like, I don't have freaking time.
Yeah.
And do I care? $20 is $20 in the store. Screw it.
Yeah.
Now, there are other places where had that happened,
Yeah.
I would have purposefully driven back across town
Yeah.
to pay that person their money.
Yeah, even if like a small family-owned store.
Yeah.
Like we were talking today about something. Oh, about renting. I want them to shampoo the carpet from when where they were in the room they were living in. They had a cat in there, so I'm like, I want you to shampoo the carpet. So they have to rent a shampooer. So we were trying to figure out where to rent them from. So they went online, and there's 2 places you can rent them from in our town. Well, I mean, there's one other place, but it's like a huge commercial shampooer, and we don't want that. We just want one of those little rug thing.
The
rug
rug
doctors.
doctors,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we want one of those. So anyways, they were like, okay, we can go to this grocery store, or they were like, we can go to this grocery store and get one. And I was like, or you could go to the dry cleaners that's right near there and get one from there, because they also rent them. And they were like, yeah, but the grocery store is open today. And I said, well, yeah, but if you're going to rent one, I would actually prefer if you rented one from a small locally owned grocery store from this dry cleaner instead of a big box grocery store type thing.
Yeah.
Because exactly like you say, you're going to buy somebody like a pair of sunglasses for we have a friend who owns a bike shop here in town. Well, a $30 pair of sunglasses, that could be his profit for the day.
Yeah.
Whereas a big box store, like $30 is...
They don't, and
Yeah.
let's be honest.
They can just write that off as loss.
It's not even a thing that it's not like they're great. Like it cost them $1 to make them, and then they sold them to me for like ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they paid somebody in a foreign country the
11
equivalent
cents.
of like 11 cents to make these things, plus what they're actually made out of, which is plastic, which we all know is like dirt cheap. So what they're actually worth and what I was sold to them, like most of that's shipping.
Yeah.
It's shipping, and I paid for shipping and handling.
Yeah. Speaking of, actually, this brings up a point. The other day, somebody on my Facebook shared this thing. I'm not going to say who, because sometimes they listen to this podcast. They will know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I had this conversation with them, so it's part of the thing. So what happened was, she shared this thing on her Facebook saying, and it's one of these internet meme things, and it was this, and it starts off as quite a nice little story, and it's like, an elderly lady was at the local grocery store, and she was asked, paper or plastics, ma'am, for her bags. And she said, oh, I'll just take plastic. And the young person behind her was like, oh, sure, just wrecking the environment, old lady type thing. And she said, well, you know, we didn't have this green thing when I was younger. Back in the day, we didn't care about the green environment, about the green thing. That was the whole thing, was this green thing. Yeah. So then the whole thing goes on to give examples of how the older generation, people in their 60s and their 70s now, did things more environmentally friendly than we did, or than we do now. They took their beer bottles back to the recycling depot, and they went back to the beer manufacturer, and they were washed and sterilized and refilled with more beer and then brought out or delivered again. And they would put glass milk bottles out, and the milkman would come and take them and give you new ones, and the same thing. There's all these different examples, and it was about how, you know, you got silverware and you washed it, and you got plates and you washed them, and all of this kind of stuff, right? You washed cloth diapers instead of disposable ones, and all of this stuff. And it's this big, huge, long fucking internet meme, right? So anyways, the person that I posted, I happened to go to their house the next day. And she was like, I'm sorry, they were, I'm trying to protect their identity. They were like, did you see the thing that I posted on Facebook yesterday? And I said, yeah, actually I did. And I was quite annoyed by it. And she said, why? And I said, because while you may be from the generation that did do that kind of stuff, recycled bottles and didn't use plastic as much as that, you're also from the generation that created all of the fucking plastic shit that my generation uses now. We didn't fucking create plastic forks. We didn't create plastic containers. You guys did.
Yep.
It had nothing to do with our generation. We're victims of the situation.
I would just like to say that I am not a victim of any sort. I refuse to be a victim. I am a consumer of these goods because they're available to us. But I'm
Fair
also
enough. Victim is the wrong word.
I also
because I could choose. Like, I can go and buy a fucking glass bottle and fill it up.
But here's the thing. I go to a restaurant for takeout food. I receive 9 million napkins.
Yeah.
Like, at some point, I think actually the people that give me food think that I have no ability to put it in my mouth. They think I just throw it around my house.
They look at you and they're like, every customer that comes, they have to do a mental calculation for your ability to eat.
Yeah.
Well, this motherfucker looks like he's about 40, so I'm going to assume his eating level is at a 3.
Which means I need to give him like this
Which
entire
means he
box
needs to have
of napkins.
4.5 pounds of napkins.
Yeah.
Now, this lady, she looks like she's about 12, so I'm going to give her 1 napkin. Because she's at an eating level of 11. So she will be able to dominate and will only need 1 napkin to just do the little creases in the corner of her mouth. That's all she'll need.
So, like, I get, like, it's almost a tree's worth of paper.
Yeah, it's a little tiny bonsai tree.
Yeah, worth of paper. And I'm like, what the hell? Why do I have so many napkins? And then I'm digging through, and I did not ask for salt and pepper in a package.
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
There's enough salt in my food, thank you. It's fast food. I don't need more salt.
Yeah, we're good.
But there it is. And then there's also I got a burger and fries, but yet I also have this cutlery package that has a fork and knife in it.
What do you need that for?
I don't.
Yeah.
But it goes in the bag. And so there it is. And then I never asked for ketchup, which I appreciate that they gave me some ketchup.
Yeah.
Because they don't know if I need ketchup or not. And obviously, they just like, everybody gets ketchup. But sometimes you get 2 ketchups. Sometimes you get 12 ketchups.
Do you remember back in the day, like when we used to, there was a period in our lives where McDonald's sold cheeseburgers for 69 cents a piece.
Yes.
We used to go in groups of people and get 10 cheeseburgers each.
Because that was the max.
Because that was the maximum you could get. And they had to institute that rule. There was, like, originally you could go and order 200 cheeseburgers and they would eventually make them for you.
And there was actually a time when that first came out that I went with somebody that ordered 100 cheeseburgers.
Yeah. And then I think I was at a party. I think I was at that party
Yes.
or something, and he went and delivered cheeseburgers to everybody.
Yeah.
So anyways, at one point, also at McDonald's, you would go in and you would get one small French fries and get 40 fucking packages of ketchup.
Yes.
Now you can go to McDonald's and order 40 packs of French fries and get 0 ketchup.
0.
Yeah, unless you ask for it. They don't even ask you, would you like ketchup with that? They don't even ask you that anymore. They're just like, fuck them.
Yeah. If you want ketchup, you ask.
If we give this motherfucker ketchup, there goes our year's profits. Okay?
Well, and honestly, I'd much rather be like the person than be like, I would like 3. Would you like ketchup? Like, at least to be like, would you like ketchup package?
No, I just want to be asked.
Yeah.
Most of the time, like I don't eat fast food very often anymore, but if I do, I want to be able to be like, no, I'm good. I'm going home.
Yeah.
I have an entire bottle of ketchup in my fridge that I'll use that.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, you know what? I'm actually going to go and park over there in the parking lot, like I'm on a road trip or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and park and eat. Then yes, I would appreciate 4 packs of ketchup for my large fries.
That's
please.
the thing. For how much ketchup would you like?
Well, there's 2 large fries in here, probably 6 maybe
6 ketchups.
between the 2 of us. That
And then
should
here's
be
the
plenty.
thing. And then if you get 6 ketchups, you're happy.
Yeah.
But if it's rando ketchup,
Yeah.
right? It's never like normal.
Yeah, they never
consistent
put
amount.
6 in.
No, you never get like
You
a
get
regular
2.
amount. You either get like you have 2 large fries and you get 2 ketchups, which is definitely not enough, or you have a bag full of ketchup
And
you're
4
like
French fries.
and you're like, what the like? It's the same amount of fries, but that guy's like, you know what? I'm hooking you up with the ketchup, and you're like, I'm just gonna throw this fucking ketchup out.
Yeah.
Because I remember when especially when we were younger, we would take the ketchups and stuff, and we would put them in the fridge.
Yeah.
And we'd be like,
Because that was your ketchup supply.
that was our ketchup supply. But we also always had a bag or a bottle of ketchup at home.
Yeah.
So what happened to the little packages? Eventually, the little compartment that held them all just got full. You get pissed off and you throw it out.
I remember I bet you I could bet you $100 right now and be sure I would win this bet.
Mm-hmm.
I could go to my dad's house right now.
Yeah.
And there will be a glass, like a small, like a tumbler type glass full of, it'll have ketchup and it'll have soy sauce.
Yeah.
Little packages from like Chinese food delivery.
Yeah.
It'll have both of those in there. Now, my dad doesn't eat ketchup, and neither does my stepmom, and they're the only 2 in the house. So I can guarantee you that was probably from some takeout order that they got 3 or 4 years ago, where they were giving out ketchup for free still. And they were like, oh, well, hey, what a novel thing. Let's have ketchup with our French fries today. It's actually, they gave us ketchup. Let's enjoy the palate experience that is ketchup on their French fries. So, and they would have done that. And then they would have been like, we used our 1 package of French fries because that's how little ketchup my parents use. They were like 1 ketchup package each. And then they would take the rest of them and we'll put these here in the glass. And it'll be the same glass. I guarantee you it'll be the same glass that was in the fridge when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I'm fucking 40 years old now.
That's a 50-year-old glass.
Yeah.
Because it was there before you.
Well, yeah, it was there well before I was. But I can guarantee you that would happen.
Yeah.
Actually, next time I go there, I'm going to look in their fridge and see if that glass is
Well,
there. And I'm going to take a picture of it, and I'm going to fucking text it to you.
Yeah, because if anybody ever came over that wanted ketchup, they would have some ketchup.
Yeah, because they won't buy it. They won't have a bottle of it in their fridge. My dad uses HP sauce every once in a while on like eggs or whatever, breakfast stuff. But he's not he doesn't use barbecue sauce. He's just not into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely they want to be able to be polite and be like, hey, we're having some breakfast. Would you like some catsup, as my dad calls it?
Yeah.
We have some catsup in the fridge. And I'm like, it's ketchup, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, and he would be like, here's your 1 packet of
Yeah,
ketchup.
you can have 1. And then once I'm done that package, he'll be like, oh, you want some more? Like, do you,
Yeah.
Why are you eating so much ketchup?
Is our food so horrible you have to like smother it in some weird
Yeah, what's wrong with
tomato
it?
sauce?
Are you trying to tell us that our food sucks?
Yeah.
Well, actually, Dad, yeah, I am. Like, fucking write this shit down. Get a notebook.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you some pointers.
Our food, yeah. Like, I was a chef. Get a video camera.
Yeah.
I'm gonna school you.
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, like, anyways.
But that's how we save the environment, is one ketchup package at a time.
Yeah, I think there's bigger things. Like, and so when I said that your generation was the one that created all of this plastic stuff, she gets all defensive. She's like, do you have proof of that? And I'm like, well, not right now. I'm fucking fixing your house. Like, I don't have proof. Like, I don't just carry argumental proof in my back pocket with me all the time.
Well, I'm
like, do some research on the timeline of plastic.
Yeah.
You know, you never had plastic in the 50s. You were born in the 50s, so obviously it came from somewhere. It wasn't us.
Yeah.
I wasn't born until 1977.
Well, and let's be honest, there's in the 1980s when we were kids, when they were parents.
Yeah.
And this is what I always like. You were parents.
Yeah.
Right? We were kids, and the proliferation of plastic happened in the 80s.
Yes.
Like, it was massive. Like, we first of all, we started to understand that styrofoam bad.
Yep.
Right? Styrofoam bad.
Yep.
And everybody was like, you can't have styrofoam. I remember being a little kid, and
I remember when McDonald's had styrofoam
containers, and then all of a sudden they didn't.
Yep.
And they were like, styrofoam is bad.
We're going green. We're going to be more environmentally
well,
friendly.
CFCs, and like there was pictures of pelicans with like deformities. That's all. I don't know why that sticks in my brain.
I remember a time before there was a hole over Australia in the ozone.
Yeah.
Because of all of the shit that we were putting out there. And then they were like, oh, we can't have hairspray with fucking CFCs in it anymore.
Yeah. You can't like have hairspray, and I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do now?
Yeah. How am I supposed to quaff my dew?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And they're like,
I'm an 80s child, man. Have you not seen pictures of people in the 80s? Like, look at our hair. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, we need hairspray. But then they found, like, by the 90s, there was a bunch of new products, and by the time we were teenagers, it was very ingrained in us that there were certain things you just didn't use.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But there were lots of things you did use, like plastic forks and plastic knives, and you ate on like a single-use. There was lots of single-use. Like, everybody had a weird container, Lunchables.
Yep. Yep.
You know, when Lunchables first came out, like, everybody's like, and you like, there was tons of plastic, and you just throw it, packaging.
Yeah.
Kids' toys, all of a sudden, like, everything, plastic got cheap and easy.
Yeah.
And it could be anything. And so everybody all of a sudden had all these, like, toys got cheap.
Yeah.
And so we all had toys. And that was great. And then by the time we had kids, that was just the thing you did.
It's just what it was, yeah.
Now, and when I say we had kids, like, I had, you know, Alex was born in 95.
Yeah, you had kids 10 years before I did.
Yeah. You know, and so, like, in 95, I was barely, you know, I was a kid myself too, pretty much at the same time. But even just instilling, like, those life lessons, like, oh, I want the, like, little McDonald's toy. Oh, why? Of course, have a little McDonald's toy. Like, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, yeah, all these single-use plastics.
Yeah, and I eventually reached a point with stuff like the Alex moved out, the oldest moved out, and then Megan, the next one, moved out. And at some point she was like, okay, well, I'm taking all of this stuff and all of this shit's your guys's. You deal with it.
Yeah.
And it came to a point where we cleaned everything. And basically we went into the room and we basically put everything into big bins. Just fucking bin. And then we come out to the living room. And then it also happened in the other girls' room too. But the first time it happened was in Megan's room. And I was like, basically had a bunch of totes of crap. And I went through it. And I'm like, okay, this is recycling paper. This is paper, cardboard, blah, blah, blah. And then I get to the bottom and there's like all these little chunks of plastic, and they're like little letters and like little toys, like inanimate, like little figures and all this kind of stuff. She doesn't want it anymore. I don't want it. Blah, blah, blah. And there's all this stuff. And eventually I was like, you know what? This is all a resource that came out of the ground to make these things. Somebody spent money to make them. Somebody spent money to ship them. Somebody spent money to put them into my house. And now I'm going to spend money to throw them into the garbage.
Yeah.
Where 250 years from now or a million years from now, they may become oil again. I don't know how plastic breaks down.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert. But eventually I was just like this whole bin is just money going out the door.
Yeah.
This is literally just shit we bought strictly for the purpose of keeping our kid entertained for 25 seconds. And now we're just throwing it away. And I can't justify that anymore. We go to the dollar store and we buy stuff like craft stuff and papers and books and pencils and all that kind of stuff from the dollar store, because why would I pay $3? Like, we were at a big box store and there was a coloring book there the other day, and the one daughter was like, can you buy me this? And I was like, no, it's $14. And I'm not going to buy you a $14 coloring book when I know I can go to the dollar store up the street and get you the same book for $1.50.
Or I can give you blank pieces of paper
Yeah.
that I have sitting at home in my computer tray.
Now, granted, they do have a lot. They do color a lot like that, but sometimes they want, they're getting to the age now where they're more like, they want to make the big grand designs, right?
I want to be in the lines, man.
Yeah, exactly. And whatever. And I still haven't bought it for her, but it was one of those things where I'm just like, I can't buy stuff for $1 anymore just to be throwing it out in a year.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore. I just can't I'd rather go out and spend $15 and get a really good steel, super strong fucking spatula to flip my eggs than go to the dollar store and get a shit one that's going to break in a year.
Yeah.
And then get another one that's going to break in a year and get another one I just can't do it anymore.
There's a point in life. There was a time when everything came with a warranty.
Yeah.
And many of them were like, if you buy this product, it will be yours for forever.
Yeah.
Right? And you'd buy one thing, and if it broke, you got it fixed somehow. There was a guy that fixed stuff. If you had a toaster that broke, you took it to the toaster guy, and he'd fix it.
Yep.
And he'd be like, that's $25. And you give him $25 and be like, that's great. I've got a new toaster. It's like your car.
Yeah.
Nowadays, your toaster breaks, you throw it out, and you go and pay like $3.99 and get another toaster.
Yeah.
Like, it's stupid.
Yeah.
But we've got to that situation where there's no point in fixing anything. There's no point in making anything because everything is just dirt cheap.
Yeah, we went through, and we should get out of here pretty quick, but our vacuum died. So we got a new vacuum. Like, literally the motor fucking started smoking on it.
Yeah.
So we got a new vacuum, and at the time we didn't have a lot of money. So this one big box store up the street had them on for like $70. So we bought one of those. And it wasn't the greatest, but it did the job. We have hardwood floors, and we have 2 mats that we have. We have one area rug and a little mat by the door that we have to vacuum. So we bought that, and it worked for about a year.
Yeah.
And then that was it. We had to buy another one. So now we're $70, and they happened to be on sale again for $70. So we bought another one. So now we're $140 in. The second one crapped out after about a year and a half. So we bought a third one, the second one didn't crap out. It didn't really do the job because it didn't have a power head on it.
Oh yeah.
And the type of carpet that we have, it didn't really work for it, right? So what we ended up doing was we gave that to our daughter who had hardwood floors in her house. So it was really easy, but she had pets, so it was basically just vacuuming up pet hair. So then we bought one with a power head, and that one worked for about a year. So now we're like 70, and 70. So what is that? That's $140, $210 in.
Yeah.
And then the third one crapped out, and I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I'm not buying another cheap vacuum. I'm either going to go out and spend $600 and get a fucking Dyson.
Yeah.
That comes with a warranty and all of that kind of stuff. Or I'm going to go to an actual vacuum shop instead of a big box store, and I'm going to buy the best vacuum that I can afford there. So I did that. I went to a vacuum shop here in town, and I was like, I want a good vacuum that's going to last me for years. And he said, well, I actually happen to have this Electrolux rebuild from 1981.
Yep.
And I said, well, what did you have to rebuild? And he said, well, when I say rebuild, the motor is still solid. It still sucks really good. I had to replace the hose, and I cleaned it up and took it apart and made sure everything was good and clean. But this was a vacuum that was from 1981 that was still usable. So it was $300. I didn't have $300 at the time. So for a vacuum.
And I just want to say this. For the price of 4 disposable vacuums, you're getting a vacuum from 1981.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is only 4 years younger than I am. So I didn't have the $300. I said, I get paid at the end of the week. I'll come back. So when I left that shop, I went to my dad's, and I was telling him that at the end of the week, I was going to buy a new vacuum because I was tired of buying disposable fucking vacuums. And he's like, well, what kind are you going to buy? And I said, well, it's an Electrolux. And he, oh, yeah, that's a good brand. We had those, blah, blah, blah. He said, actually. And I was like, what? And he's like, come with me. And he comes and we go into his workshop, and he hands me a fucking power head with a pipe on it, a steel pipe and a wire. And I was like, what's this? And he's like, well, that's a power head for an Electrolux vacuum. And I was like, well, that's fucking cool. And then he reaches over and he pulls he's got on his one wall when he's done, because my dad's getting older, so as he works outside, he gets cold.
Yeah.
So he puts on these, in the wintertime, he's got these insulated coveralls type thing that he wears.
Yeah.
So he's got them hanging on the one wall in his shop. So he pulls them over and he takes them off the hook, and there's a fucking vacuum hose there, over the same hook.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's that? And he's like, well, that's a hose for an Electrolux vacuum. And I was like, well, that's fucking convenient. And, I'm getting spare parts, and I haven't even bought the vacuum yet. I'm getting all of these accessories. And he's like, I'm pretty sure I've got a vacuum, or how they have a couch little head, the power head and stuff. He said, I think I got that somewhere. I'll find that and give it to you eventually when you buy this thing. And then he's like, huh, well, where the fuck is it? And I was like, where's what? And he's like, well, I just remembered. I've got an Electrolux vacuum. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I've got one. And he said, it's been in the shop here for about 30 years. He said, I don't use it for anything. I don't even know if it works anymore. But, let's see. So anyways, he finds it. It's buried behind his fucking table saw.
Yeah.
So he finds it and he digs it out. And we plug it in and hit the switch, and sure as fuck, the thing starts up.
Yeah.
So we put the hose to it, and the fucking thing sucks. And I have it here today. It's in the fucking closet, the linen closet. It's the best fucking vacuum I've ever had.
Yeah.
And it's one, like I say, my dad had it in his fucking shop for 30 years. Yeah. Sat there and collected dust.
Did nothing for 30
years.
Yet it's still better than 4 replaceable vacuums.
Yeah, exactly. So that's got to tell you something about what we're doing.
All I got to say is the things that were made in the 70s fucking kick ass.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were the tail end of the 70s, but we still rock.
We still rock.
All right, for Small Town Bringdown, I'm Brandon Grider.
I'm Elliot Drew.
Thanks for listening to us talk shit about shit.
I grew up in a real small town. Main streets, there was no one around. Skipping school, smoking pot in the sun. Remember days when we were young. I grew up, got a beautiful wife. I brought a son into...
This has been a Lunchbox fabrication.